Greetings, Dr. Mark Winton here, and like to spend a few minutes pointing out some major themes in Chapter 5, Hate Crime Victims. One of the first areas that your author discusses focuses on problems in identifying hate crime victims, and some of those problems have to do with difficulties in reporting. So a lot of this has to relate to the relationships between community members and victims and police. And also we need to take a look at how the data is actually collected and what types of questions are asked. So we also can have difficulties in recording, and law enforcement agencies may have different policies regarding how hate crimes are recorded. There may also be different levels of knowledge in different departments, and different research centers may define hate crimes and collect data differently. And we may also have some problems with self-reports. In other words, those reports by victims. And so we may find some groups report more, some report less victimizations, based again on different relationships with organizations that conduct research, and also the criminal justice system itself. So there's a variety of problems with reporting, recording, and with self-reports. And if we look at the official hate crime data, we find that underreporting is a major problem. Underreporting. In fact, I've looked at some of the studies, or I've looked at some of the official data in different states, and I don't even see a point in using it. It's so underreported. You know, if you find a state that's reported 4 or something of that sort in the whole state, you know, you have some major problems there. But what we have looking at official hate crime data, the most common victims of hate crimes in most jurisdictions are African Americans. And that's real important to look at, considering the lack of research in that particular area. And also we see that at a national level, and based on proportions of members in society, Jewish people are common hate crime victims. And we also see that over 17% of hate crimes are committed because of a victim's sexual orientation. We also find that crimes against gay men are committed more frequently than crimes against lesbians. We also have advocacy group data, and again, you know, we run into some of the problems of definitions of the quality of the research, on the focus of the types of hate crimes reported. And again, hopefully we see better reporting and statistical analysis there. Your author then starts to focus on different groups, and begins with a section on hate crimes against African Americans. And as I mentioned, we definitely need to conduct more research on hate crimes against African Americans, and hopefully we'll see that now and in the future. And there's a brief history of yesterday, today, and predictions for tomorrow regarding hate crimes against African Americans. And then also your author spends a short amount of time discussing anti-Semitic hate crimes, and primarily here we're focusing on hate crimes against Jewish people. And you can take a closer look at that section, looking at some of the factors related to hate crimes and types of hate crimes, and anti-Semitism today in the United States. And then also there's a section on hate crimes against LGBT people, so lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender people, hate crimes. Sometimes hate crimes against the LGBT population is actually not covered in hate crime legislation, And also we see that there's a bias that permeates our society in a variety of institutions that deal with hate crimes, and in society in general. And if we look at some of the research and some of the findings, for example, we find that LGBT youth are twice as likely as their straight peers to be verbally or physically attacked due to their orientation, their sexual orientation. And also, we see basically high rates of hate crimes. And there's a section on explanations for homophobic related hate crimes, and some of the explanations talk about the anti-gay ideology in the United States, and this certainly would be abroad as well. That you know, hate crimes against the LGBT community occur worldwide, and in some countries we actually see the total lack of support of the criminal justice system and the prosecution and persecution of the LGBT population in some specific countries, where being gay or lesbian or bisexual or transgender is actually illegal and punished. So we still have the human rights violations in a variety of countries that occur on a daily basis. And so we also see some anti-gay violence fueled by the ways people have reacted who are anti-gay to the gay rights movement, and also regarding different legislation focusing on marriage or adoption, for example, and some of the biases that occur there. We've also seen an increase in anti-Muslim hate crimes, especially after 9/11, and we've seen the problems associated with violence toward Muslims and also the religious institutions. And we have to take a closer look at how that hate crime occurs and how we can prevent it. And also there's short sections on ethnicity-related hate crimes and also disability-related hate crimes. And you know, for example, as of the writing of your textbook, 32 states had hate crime laws that included disability as a protected category. Also, if you look at gender, 31 states include gender or sex as a protected category, and 17 include gender identity. So there's some variations there as well. And then there's some discussion of homelessness as a protected group, and some of the hate crimes that have occurred against homeless individuals. So certainly in this chapter we see the victimization studies and some of the information and data we have, but clearly two things I would mention. Number one is that we really need better reporting, and number two, we need a lot more research in this area. I'm just very happy that my department and university has allowed me to teach this course, and this is the first time this course has been taught in our department and at our university, and we plan to continue teaching this course in the future as well. And this wraps up this video. Thank you.